The scream of rain against pavement drowned out most of the city noise, but nothing could silence the venom in Marcus's voice as Jenna Blake walked away from him on the corner of 5th and Ashford. "You'll regret this," he shouted after her, his face twisted with fury beneath the street lamp's sickly glow. "You think anyone else will want you? You're nothing without me." Jenna kept walking, her hands shaking inside her coat pockets, throat tight with the effort of not crying where he could see. 2 years she'd given him. 2 years of her life wasted on a man who criticized everything she did, who made her feel small, who'd isolated her from friends, until she barely recognized herself anymore. Tonight, she'd finally found the courage to end it, and he'd followed her out of the restaurant, making a scene on the street like she'd committed some crime against him. "She won't be yours to regret." The voice cut through the rain like a blade through silk, cold, absolute, final. Jenna stopped walking and turned. A man stood between her and Marcus now, though she hadn't heard him approach. Tall, impossibly so, dressed in a long black coat that might have looked theatrical on anyone else but on him, seemed perfectly natural. His hair fell white as snow past his shoulders, stark against pale skin that seemed to drink in the streetlight rather than reflect it. His face was all elegant angles and aristocratic lines, beautiful in a way that made her chest ache. Marcus sputtered, "Who the hell are you?" The stranger didn't even glance at him. His eyes, pale as winter frost, remained fixed on Jenna. Something in that gaze made her breath catch. It wasn't just the color or the intensity, it was the age in them, the weight, like looking into something vast and ancient that wore a human face as a courtesy. "Walk away," the stranger said to Marcus, still without looking at him. "While you still can." "This is between me and my girlfriend," Marcus snapped, trying to step around the stranger. "So why don't you mind your own—" The white-haired man shifted slightly, just a subtle movement of his shoulders, but Marcus froze mid-sentence. The color drained from his face. Whatever he saw in that moment, whatever instinct deep in his hindbrain suddenly screamed danger, it stopped him cold. "She is no longer yours," the stranger said quietly, "and you will not speak to her again. Am I understood?" Marcus's mouth worked soundlessly. Then he stumbled backward, nearly tripping over his own feet before turning and half running down the street. The sound of his footsteps faded into the rain. The stranger finally turned to look at Jenna fully. Up close, his features were even more striking. Perfect, really, in a way that shouldn't exist in nature. Too symmetrical, too refined. His eyes held hers for a long moment, and she felt the world narrow to just the two of them standing in the rain. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head, finding her voice. "No, just embarrassed." "Thank you for that. You didn't have to." "I did." 2 words. Flat and certain. He said it like a fact of the universe, not subject to debate. "I'm Jenna," she offered, unsure what else to say. Her heart was still racing, but not entirely from the confrontation with Marcus anymore. He regarded her for another moment, something unreadable flickering across his perfect features. Then he inclined his head slightly, a gesture that seemed to belong to another century. Xareth Osborn. The name sent a strange thrill through her. It sounded old, foreign, nothing like the names you'd hear in a coffee shop or an office building. Before she could ask anything more, he glanced up at the rain, then back at her. "You should go home. It's not safe to wander alone at this hour." "I was just trying to get away from him," Jenna admitted. "I don't live far, just a few blocks." Xareth's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I'll walk with you." It wasn't a question. He fell into step beside her as naturally as if they'd planned it, his longer stride adjusting to match hers. They walked in silence for half a block, the rain continuing its steady assault, before Jenna worked up the nerve to speak. "You scared him. I've never seen Marcus scared of anything before." "Good," Xareth said simply. "Most people would have just ignored it, walked past. It's not their problem, right?" He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter, thoughtful. "I have little tolerance for men who abuse power over those they claim to care for." Something in the way he said it made her think he was speaking from experience. Centuries of it, though that was an absurd thought. She glanced up at him, studying his profile. The rain beaded on his white hair, but he didn't seem bothered by it. Didn't even seem cold, despite the late autumn chill. "Do you live around here?" she asked. "Nearby?" "Vague," she tried again. I haven't seen you before. I walk this route pretty often. I keep different hours than most, more deflection. But there was no irritation in his tone, just simple statement. They turned onto her street, a quieter residential block lined with old brownstones converted to apartments. Jenna led him to number 43 and stopped at the front steps. "This is me," she said, suddenly reluctant to see him go. Which was crazy. She'd just left a relationship. The last thing she needed was to develop some kind of crush on a mysterious stranger who'd played knight in shining armor. And yet, "Thank you again, really. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't been there." Xareth studied her face for a long moment. His expression barely changed, but something in his eyes softened just slightly. "You would have been fine. You already chose to walk away. That was the hardest part." The words landed somewhere deep in her chest. He was right. She had walked away. After 2 years of Marcus chipping away at her confidence, convincing her she couldn't do better, she'd finally found the strength to leave. That had been her victory, not Xareth's. "Still," she said softly, "it helped, you being there." He nodded once, then did something unexpected. He reached into his coat and pulled out a card, plain black with silver lettering, just a phone number, nothing else. He held it out to her. "If he bothers you again, call." Jenna took the card, her fingers brushing his. His skin was cool despite the coat. She tucked the card into her pocket. "I will." Xareth stepped back, preparing to leave, but he paused. "Jenna Blake, be careful. The world is more dangerous than you know." Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the rain and shadows with the same eerie quietness with which he'd appeared. Jenna stood on her steps for a long moment, watching the empty street before finally going inside. She couldn't stop thinking about him. Over the next few days, Jenna found her thoughts returning to Xareth Osborn again and again. His face, his voice, the way he'd stood between her and Marcus like it was the most natural thing in the world. She kept his card in her wallet, pulling it out occasionally to stare at the phone number as if it might reveal something more about its owner. Marcus, mercifully, stayed away. She'd half expected angry texts or drunken voicemails, but there was nothing. Just silence. Part of her wondered if Xareth had somehow managed to scare him off permanently with just those few minutes on the street. A week after the encounter, Jenna was closing up the small art gallery where she worked when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Her heart jumped irrationally before she answered. "Hello? Jenna Blake?" Xareth's voice, unmistakable even over the phone. "I wanted to ensure your ex-boyfriend hasn't returned to trouble you." She smiled despite herself, warmth spreading through her chest. "No, nothing. It's been quiet. I think you actually managed to scare him off for good." A pause. Good. Another silence stretched between them. Jenna locked the gallery door and started walking toward her apartment. "Did you want something else? I mean, thank you for checking in, but I find myself thinking about you." The admission sounded like it cost him something, like he was unused to revealing anything about his inner thoughts. "That is unusual for me." Jenna's pulse quickened. "I've been thinking about you too. I'm not," he stopped, seemed to reconsider his words. "I'm not an easy man to know, Jenna. There are things about me that would frighten most people." "You don't frighten me?" "Perhaps I should." "Why?" She reached her building and climbed the steps, phone pressed to her ear. "Because you're mysterious? Because you have white hair and look like you walked out of a Gothic painting? I grew up watching vampire movies, Xareth. I'm not scared of interesting." The silence that followed was different, heavier. When he spoke again, his voice was careful. "You should not speak of vampires so lightly." Something in his tone made her stop with her key halfway to the lock. "Why not?" "Because they are real. And they are dangerous." Jenna laughed nervously, waiting for him to join in, to say he was kidding. But no laugh came. Just that weighted silence. "Xareth, I am one," he said quietly. "I wanted you to know, before this continues, before you develop feelings you cannot take back." Her hand trembled against the door. This should be the moment she laughed again, made a joke, told him that was crazy. Instead, she thought about his pale skin, the age in his eyes, the way Marcus had frozen in terror, the way Xareth moved without sound, the coolness of his touch. "You're serious," she whispered. "Yes." "Prove it." "No, not over the phone, not like this." A pause. I should not have called. I apologize for disturbing you. Goodbye, Jenna. Wait. She unlocked her door quickly, stepping inside. Don't hang up, please. I want to see you. If you're telling the truth, I want to know. And if you're not, I still want to see you anyway. Why? Because I can't stop thinking about you either. Because something about you feels right in a way nothing has for a long time. Because you stood up for me when you didn't have to. And that means something. She took a breath. Because I'm falling for you, and I don't even fully understand why yet. The admission hung in the air between them. She'd fallen first. Completely and helplessly, for a man she barely knew. A man who claimed to be a vampire. It should have felt insane. Instead, it felt inevitable. I am not human, Xareth said finally. I am king of my kind in this territory. I have lived for centuries, and will live for centuries more. I drink blood to survive. I cannot walk in sunlight. I am everything your childhood stories warned you about, Jenna, and you should run from me. I don't want to run from you. You should, but I won't. Her voice strengthened. Where are you? Let me see you. Let me decide for myself. Another long pause. Then, look out your window. Jenna crossed to the window of her second-floor apartment and looked down. Xareth stood on the street below, phone to his ear, his white hair catching the streetlight. He looked up at her, and even from this distance she could see those pale, ancient eyes. She hung up the phone and ran. Down the stairs, through the building's front door, out onto the sidewalk. Xareth lowered his phone as she approached, his expression unreadable. She stopped a few feet away, suddenly uncertain. Show me, she said. If you're what you say you are, show me. Xareth's jaw tightened. Then he moved. One moment he stood 10 feet away. The next he was directly in front of her, having crossed the distance faster than her eye could track. She gasped, stumbling back, and his hand caught her elbow to steady her. That same cool touch. I'm stronger than any human, he said quietly. Faster. My senses are sharper than you can imagine. I can hear your heartbeat, smell the blood in your veins. In another moment I could... He stopped himself. I am a predator, Jenna. That is what we are. She stared up at him, heart racing, but not with fear, with exhilaration. You won't hurt me. No, I won't. How do you know? Because the thought of harming you is more abhorrent to me than anything I can name. His hand still held her elbow, and his thumb moved slightly, almost unconsciously, a gentle brush against her skin through her jacket. Such a small gesture. It made her breath catch. You should go inside, forget about me. Live your life in the daylight where you belong. What if I want to be in the darkness with you? Something shifted in his expression. Pain, maybe, or longing. You don't know what you're asking. Then teach me. She stepped closer, bringing them almost chest to chest. I meant what I said. I'm falling for you, Xareth. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe I'm being stupid. But I'd rather be stupid and know you than safe in wondering what if. Xareth raised his free hand slowly, as if giving her time to pull away, and touched her face. His cool fingers traced the line of her jaw with a gentleness that made her eyes sting. You fell first, he murmured almost to himself. Foolish, brave girl. Is that a yes? The corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile, but close. The first break in his stoic expression she'd seen. That's a warning. If you stay near me, there will be danger. My world is not kind, Jenna. There are rules and politics and enemies you cannot imagine, and there are those who would hurt you to hurt me. I'll take the risk. I cannot promise I will always be what you need. I am cold by nature. I do not express emotion easily. I have not been human for over 300 years. 300 years. The number should have shocked her. Instead, it just explained the weight in his eyes. I don't need you to be human. I need you to be honest with me, and to let me in, even if it's just a little bit at a time. He studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded, a barely perceptible movement. Very well, but you must understand. Once you truly enter my world, it will change you. There will be no simple going back. Huh? I understand. Do you? His hand slid from her face to rest against her neck, his thumb finding her pulse. Your heart is racing. You are brave now, in this moment. But when you see what I truly am, when you witness the violence and the darkness that surrounds my existence, you may change your mind. Then let me see it. All of it. I'd rather know the truth than live in ignorance. Xareth's eyes searched hers, looking for doubt perhaps, or fear. Whatever he found there seemed to satisfy him. His hand dropped away and he stepped back, giving her space. Tomorrow night, I will show you my world. Be ready at midnight. I will. He turned to leave, then paused. Without looking back, he said, Sleep with something iron near your bed tonight, just in case. In case of what? In case I am not the only vampire who has noticed you. Then he was gone, melting into the shadows like he'd never been there at all. Jenna went back upstairs, her mind reeling. She should be terrified. She should be calling a therapist or at least a friend to talk her out of whatever insanity she'd just committed to. Instead, she found herself digging through her kitchen drawers until she found an old cast-iron pan, which she placed on her nightstand before climbing into bed. She barely slept, but when she did, she dreamed of pale eyes and cool hands and a voice like winter itself, promising impossible things. Midnight came slowly. Jenna had never been more aware of time passing than she was that next day. Work dragged endlessly at the gallery. She moved through the motions of helping customers and handling paperwork, but her mind was elsewhere, on Xareth, on what he would show her tonight, on the terrifying, exhilarating reality that vampires were real, and she had somehow caught the attention of their king. She went home at 6, ate dinner without tasting it, showered, changed clothes 3 times trying to figure out what one wore to meet vampire royalty. She finally settled on dark jeans, boots, and a deep green sweater that made her auburn hair look richer. Then she waited. At midnight exactly, a knock sounded at her door. Jenna jumped despite expecting it. She crossed her small apartment and opened the door to find Xareth standing in the hallway, somehow looking even more imposing than she remembered. He wore all black again, but this time there was something different about him, more formal. His coat looked expensive, tailored perfectly to his tall frame. His white hair was pulled back partially, revealing the elegant lines of his face more clearly. "You came," she said softly. "I said I would." His eyes scanned her face, then moved past her to sweep the apartment. "You're alone." "Good. Did you think I'd change my mind?" "I hoped you would." He said it with such quiet honesty that it hurt. "This would be easier for you if you had." "Probably. Are you going to come in, or do I need to invite you?" "Myths," he said simply, stepping inside without ceremony. "I do not need an invitation. Sunlight will burn me. Silver harms us as does iron. Wooden stakes through the heart will kill us as it would kill any creature. Holy water and crosses do nothing. Garlic is merely unpleasant. We are not dead. We are not undead. We are simply something else." Jenna closed the door behind him. "You're being very informative. You asked for truth. I'm giving it to you." He turned to face her fully. "Are you ready?" "For what?" "To see my world." She grabbed her jacket and her bag. "Yes." Xareth led her outside to where a car waited, not what she expected. She'd half imagined he'd just sweep her into his arms and leap across rooftops or something equally dramatic. Instead, he opened the door of a sleek black sedan for her, perfectly courteous, before sliding into the driver's seat himself. "Where are we going?" she asked as they pulled away from her building. "Beneath the city. My court resides in spaces humans have forgotten, old tunnels, renovated catacombs, places where sunlight will never reach." The city passed outside the windows, familiar streets giving way to less familiar ones. They drove into the old district, where buildings dated back centuries, and the modern world felt like a thin veneer over something much older. Xareth finally parked in an underground garage beneath what looked like an abandoned warehouse. "Stay close to me," he said as they got out. "Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not show fear. These are rules that may keep you safe." Her heart hammered, but she nodded. Xareth led her to an elevator she would never have noticed, hidden behind old crates. It descended for what felt like a long time. When the doors finally opened, Jenna's breath caught. The space before her was vast. What must have once been subway tunnels or perhaps old sewer systems had been transformed into something extraordinary. Vaulted ceilings rose overhead, the stone carved with intricate designs. Soft lighting that seemed to have no clear source illuminated everything in a warm glow. Rich carpets covered the floor. Furniture that looked centuries old, perfectly preserved, created small gathering spaces. And everywhere, people. Except they weren't people, not human ones. They were beautiful, every single one of them. Pale-skinned and elegant, dressed in everything from modern clothing to outfits that looked like they belonged in historical museums. And every face turned as Xareth entered with Jenna at his side. The reaction was immediate: shock, confusion. Murmurs rippled through the assembled vampires. Xareth's hand found the small of Jenna's back, a gesture of possession and protection both. He guided her forward through the space, and the crowd parted for him. They walked the length of the main hall to where a raised dais held a single chair. Throne was probably the more accurate word, simple but elegant, carved from dark wood. It spoke of age and authority. Xareth sat without hesitation, and then did something that made the murmurs grow louder. He drew Jenna to stand beside him, his hand never leaving her back. "This is Jenna Blake," he said, his voice carrying through the space without being raised. "She is under my personal protection. Anyone who harms her answers to me directly." A vampire stepped forward from the crowd. Female, with silver hair instead of white, wearing what looked like Victorian-era clothing. Her face was lovely and cold. "My king, you bring a human into our sanctum. You claim her as yours to protect. You must understand the questions this raises." "I understand perfectly, Seraphine." Xareth's voice remained level. "And I am not asking permission. She is mortal, fragile, a liability. She is mine. That's all that matters." The words sent a thrill through Jenna despite the tension in the room. His. She shouldn't like the possessive way he said it. She'd just left a relationship where Marcus had tried to own her, to control her. But this was different. Xareth wasn't trying to make her small. He was shielding her, standing between her and a room full of predators who probably viewed her as food or a curiosity at best. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. "As you wish, my king. But the council will want answers. They will want to know your intentions. My intentions are my own. And if the human world discovers us because of her, they won't." Xareth's tone held absolute certainty. "Are there any other concerns that need addressing tonight?" Another vampire emerged from the crowd, male this time, with features that might have been Greek or Roman in origin. "The hunters have been more active lately. 3 of our kind were attacked near the river district last week. We killed 2 of the hunters, but 1 escaped." Xareth's expression didn't change, but Jenna felt the subtle shift in his posture. Tension. "Hunters," he said flatly. "Still, I thought we had eliminated their organization in this territory 5 years ago. They return, like weeds. This one seemed to know more about us than typical hunters, knew to bring iron blades, knew where some of our safe houses were located. Then we have a leak. Find it, close it, and when you locate these hunters, bring them to me. I will handle it personally." The male vampire bowed his head. "As you command." The gathering continued for another hour. Vampires approached with various concerns and requests: property disputes, territory boundaries with other vampire enclaves in neighboring cities. One asked permission to turn a dying human lover, which Xareth granted with conditions. Through it all, he remained composed, cold almost, but his hand never left Jenna's back, that constant warm point of contact that anchored her through the strangeness of it all. Finally, the crowd began to disperse. Seraphine approached once more, her ancient eyes studying Jenna with uncomfortable intensity. "She knows what we are, then?" "Yes." "And she stays anyway. Foolish or brave?" "Both," Xareth said simply. Seraphine's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "Perhaps there is more to her than appears. Time will tell, I suppose. Do try not to break her, my king. I sense you've grown attached. Seraphine, I will go. But a word of advice, child." She directed this at Jenna. "Our king is a hard man, cold as winter ice. You will not change him. Do not break your heart trying." "I'm not trying to change him," Jenna said quietly, finding her voice. "I'm just trying to know him." Seraphine regarded her for a long moment. Then she inclined her head slightly. "We shall see." She swept away, leaving them alone on the dais. Xareth stood, his hand sliding from Jenna's back to take her hand properly. "Come, I will show you the rest." He led her through corridors carved into the bedrock beneath the city. showed her libraries filled with books spanning centuries, armories with weapons from every age, sleeping chambers where vampires retreated during dangerous daylight hours. It was a complete society, hidden in plain sight beneath the feet of the human world above. Finally, they reached his personal chambers. The space was austere compared to some of the opulence they'd passed. A large bed dominated one wall, though Xareth admitted he rarely used it. A desk covered in papers and maps, bookshelves, a single painting of a landscape that looked vaguely European. "This is where I spend most of my time," he said, "when I'm not dealing with the politics of keeping several hundred vampires from killing each other or exposing us all." Jenna turned to look at him. "It's lonely. It is what it is. You're their king, but you're alone." "I have been alone for a very long time, Jenna. It is safer that way. For me and for anyone who might otherwise get close." She stepped toward him. "I'm close now." "Yes." His eyes met hers. "And I should send you home, back to your safe, normal life. Instead, I find myself wanting to keep you here, to be selfish." "So be selfish." "You don't understand what you're asking. If you stay in my life, you will be a target. The hunters I mentioned earlier. They hate our kind. They hunt us, and they will see you as a way to reach me. Then teach me to protect myself, or protect me yourself, but don't push me away because you're afraid." "I am not afraid." "Aren't you?" She reached up and touched his face, her warm hand against his cool cheek. "I think you are. I think you're terrified of letting someone in after so long alone, and I understand that. But I'm here anyway, and I'm not going anywhere." Xareth's hand came up to cover hers, holding her palm against his face. For a moment, just a moment, his careful control slipped. She saw longing in his eyes, hunger, but not for blood, for connection, for someone who saw him as more than just their king or their monster. "I am not good at this," he admitted quietly. "I do not know how to be soft, how to give you what you need. You're doing fine. You held my hand. You kept your hand on my back all evening. You're touching me now. These small things matter, Xareth. I don't need grand gestures. I just need to know I mean something to you. You do, more than you should." He turned his head slightly, pressing a kiss to her palm. The gesture was so tender, so unexpected, that her eyes burned with sudden tears. "Stay tonight. Let me keep you safe here, just for one night. Then I will take you home in the morning before sunrise." "Okay," she whispered. He led her to the bed, and they lay down together, still fully clothed. Xareth pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her, and they stayed like that. No pressure for more, just the comfort of being held. Jenna listened to the silence where his heartbeat should be and somehow found it peaceful rather than disturbing. "I heard hearts beating earlier," she murmured, "in the main hall. Do vampires have heartbeats?" "Slow ones, much slower than humans. Mine beats perhaps once or twice a minute, barely noticeable." "Can you sleep?" "Not the way you do, but I can rest. Go quiet. It is close enough." She tilted her head back to look up at him. "Will you rest with me?" His arms tightened around her slightly. "Yes. I will watch over you while you sleep." It should have been creepy. Instead, it made her feel safer than she had in years. Jenna let her eyes close, let herself relax fully into his embrace, and drifted off to the sound of his breathing and the cool comfort of his presence. When she woke, she was back in her own bed. Jenna sat up, disoriented. Sunlight streamed through her windows. Morning clearly, though she had no memory of traveling from Xareth's underground chambers to her apartment. He must have carried her while she slept, brought her home before the sun rose, and he had to retreat to darkness. On her nightstand, next to the iron pan she'd left there, sat a single white rose. No note, just the flower, perfect and pristine. She picked it up and held it to her face, breathing in its scent, and felt her heart clench. Such a small gesture. But from a man like Xareth, a man who admitted he struggled with softness, it meant everything. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, though she knew immediately who it was. "You sleep deeply. Made it easy to bring you home. The rose is from my personal garden. No one else may pick from it. Just you." Jenna typed back quickly. "Thank you for everything. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again?" The response came after a moment. "Tonight. I will come to you after sunset. Be safe today. She should go to work, call in sick to deal with the whirlwind her life had become, but something about the text made her uneasy. Be safe today. Like he expected trouble. Jenna got up and went through her morning routine on autopilot, her mind elsewhere. She made coffee, showered, dressed for work. Everything normal, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The knock on her door came at 9 in the morning. She checked the peephole, and her blood went cold. Marcus stood outside, her ex-boyfriend, the man Xareth had warned away over a week ago, the man who had been silent until now. Jenna considered not answering, but then she thought about what Xareth had said. Do not show fear. If Marcus thought he could intimidate her, he'd never stop trying. She opened the door but kept the chain on. What do you want? Marcus looked different. Haggard. His eyes were bloodshot and wild. We need to talk about what's been happening to you, about who you've been spending time with. I don't owe you any explanations. We're not together anymore. Jenna, listen to me. I know about him, about what he is. Marcus leaned closer to the gap in the door. He's dangerous. He's a monster, and you're in serious trouble if you keep seeing him. Her skin prickled. How do you know anything about who I'm seeing? Because I've been tracking him, tracking his kind. That's what I do, Jenna. That's my real job. The accounting work was just cover. I hunt monsters. The world tilted. Xareth's vampires had mentioned hunters who had attacked some of them recently. Hunters who seemed to know too much about their locations in safe houses. You're a hunter, she said slowly. Yes, and I was supposed to stay away from you after that night on the street. He scared me, I'll admit it. But then my team started digging, started asking questions about why the Vampire King himself would interfere in a random human domestic dispute. And we realized, Marcus's expression twisted into something ugly. You were my assignment, Jenna. I was supposed to date you, get close to you, find out if you had any connections to their kind. You were flagged months ago because you worked near one of their feeding territories. The words hit like physical blows. Our entire relationship was fake. It was an assignment that got complicated. I did care about you eventually. But yes, initially it was surveillance, and now you've gone and fallen in with the worst of them, the king himself. Do you have any idea how valuable you are to my organization now? Jenna stepped back from the door. Get away from me. I can't do that. You're going to help us, Jenna. You're going to tell us everything you know about him, where he lives, how to reach him during the day when he's vulnerable. You're going to give us the Vampire King, or you're going to become an accessory to the murders they've committed. Murders. They feed on people. They kill. That's what they do, and you've been sleeping beside one of them. Marcus pulled something from his jacket. A badge, official-looking, though she didn't recognize the organization. I have authority to bring you in for questioning. You can come willingly, or I can make this very unpleasant. Fear spiked through her, but anger rose right behind it. I'm not going anywhere with you, and I'm not betraying Xareth. Get away from my door before I call the police. The police can't help you, not with this. But Marcus stepped back. His expression shifted to something almost pitying. You'll regret this, Jenna, when he shows you what he really is, when he gets bored of you or worse, when he decides you know too much and you become a liability. You'll regret choosing a monster over your own kind. She won't be yours to regret. The voice came from down the hallway, and Marcus spun around. Xareth stood there, though how he'd gotten into the building in daylight was beyond Jenna's understanding. He wore a heavy coat with the hood up, gloves on his hands. Every bit of his skin was covered, but his face was visible in the shadow of the hood, pale and cold and absolutely furious. You, Marcus breathed, you can't be here. The sun will burn me if I am careless, yes, but it is morning still, and the light has not yet reached this hallway fully. I have a few minutes. Xareth moved forward with that inhuman grace, and Marcus stumbled backward. You dare to return. You dare to threaten her. I'm doing my job. Your job is to murder my kind based on fear and ignorance, to hunt us like animals. We have lived beside humanity for millennia, and yes, we feed, but we do not slaughter. We take what we need, and no more. We have rules, laws. Your kind sees only monsters because you refuse to see anything else. Marcus pulled a knife from his belt. Iron blade, Jenna realized. I'm taking her in. She has information about you, about your court. No, you are leaving. And you are telling your organization that Jenna Blake is under my protection. If any hunter touches her, I will rain down such fury on your entire operation that you will beg for mercy I will not give. Big words for a bloodsucker standing in a building with windows at both ends of this hall. One more minute and the light shifts, you'll burn. Then I had better be quick. Xareth moved. The knife slashed air where he'd been standing. Then he was behind Marcus, one hand gripping the hunter's wrist, the other at his throat. Not choking, just holding. A reminder of how easily he could kill if he chose. I could snap your neck, drain you dry, leave you in this hallway like the garbage you are. Xareth's voice was cold as winter wind. But I will not make Jenna witness that. So instead, you will live. You will return to your masters, and you will deliver my message. She is mine, she is claimed, and anyone who tries to take her from me will die screaming. He released Marcus, who stumbled forward, gasping. Sunlight was starting to creep down the hallway from a window at the far end. Xareth moved back toward the stairs, away from the light, gesturing for Jenna to follow. Come, quickly. She didn't hesitate. Jenna grabbed her bag and left the apartment, slamming the door behind her. She followed Xareth down the stairs to a lower level where the windows were smaller, less direct light. He led her to a maintenance closet and pulled her inside, closing the door behind them. In the darkness, she could barely see him, but she felt his hands on her arms checking her over. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? No, I'm fine. Xareth, what he said is true. He was using you. Your relationship was a lie from the beginning. The confirmation hurt, even though she'd already moved past Marcus. To know it had all been fake, that he'd never cared, that she'd been nothing but a target. Tears burned hot behind her eyes. I'm sorry, Xareth said softly. I would spare you this pain if I could. How did you know? How did you get here? I have people watching your building. They called me the moment your ex arrived. I came as quickly as I could manage in daylight. You could have burned. Yes, you risked that for me. His hand slid up to cup her face in the darkness. I would risk far more than that for you, Jenna. You must know this by now. She did know. In her bones, in her soul, she knew. This cold, ancient vampire king who struggled to express emotion had still crossed a city in dangerous daylight, had still confronted her ex despite the very real threat of burning, because she needed him. What do we do now? She whispered. Now I keep you safe. The hunters know about you. They will not stop coming. Marcus was just the first. His thumb brushed her cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. I need to eliminate the threat. Find their base. End this before they can truly move against you or my court. How? I have resources, information networks. It will take time, but not much. In the meanwhile, you cannot return to your apartment. It is compromised. You will stay with me, underground where the sun cannot reach us and where I can protect you properly. I have a job, a life, both of which will be meaningless if you are dead. His voice was firm but not unkind. I know what I ask. I know this is not the life you wanted, but it is the life you have now, because of me, because I was selfish enough to want you when I should have stayed away. Jenna leaned into his touch. I don't regret it, even knowing everything. I don't regret choosing you. You may yet. This is only the beginning. But there was something in his voice, a softness that hadn't been there before, like her words had reached him somewhere deep. His forehead pressed against hers in the darkness of the closet, and they stood like that for a long moment, just breathing together. I need to move you before the sun gets higher, Xareth finally said. My car is in the underground garage. We can reach it without going outside. Stay close. They made their way through the building's lower levels, avoiding windows and any direct light. Xareth moved with purpose, his hand never leaving hers. By the time they reached his car, Jenna could see the strain on his face. Even the minimal exposure had cost him. You're hurt, she said as they drove away from her building. Minor burns. They will heal. You shouldn't have come for me in daylight. I will always come for you. He said it simply, a statement of fact. No matter the cost. The words settled around her heart like a promise. The next few days passed in a strange new rhythm. Jenna moved into Xareth's chambers beneath the city. He gave her free access to everything, showed her the hidden exits in case of emergency, introduced her to vampires he trusted who would guard her if he could not. And through it all, he remained that same stoic, careful presence. But the small gestures continued. He would place a blanket around her shoulders when she got cold in the underground chill. His hand would find hers while they walked the corridors. Once, she caught him watching her read in his chambers, and when she looked up and smiled, the corner of his mouth lifted just slightly in return. These tiny moments were everything. Seraphine visited on the third day, sweeping into Xareth's chambers with her usual dramatic flair. She assessed Jenna with those ancient silver eyes. Still alive, impressive, many humans cannot handle the transition to our world. "I'm tougher than I look," Jenna said. "Clearly. The king seems quite taken with you. I have not seen him this invested in another person's well-being in at least a century." Xareth, standing by his desk reviewing reports, didn't look up. "Seraphine, if you have come only to gossip, I have come with information about the hunters." Her tone turned serious. "Lucian's people located their base, an old church they have converted to an armory and headquarters. 20 members, give or take, well armed. They have files on most of our court." Xareth's head snapped up. "When?" "Tonight. Lucian can have a strike force ready within the hour." "No strike force. I will handle it myself." "My king." "Myself," he repeated, his voice leaving no room for argument. "These hunters threatened what is mine. They will answer to me directly." Seraphine's gaze slid to Jenna. "She has made you dangerous in ways even I did not anticipate." "They were already dangerous," Jenna said quietly. "He's just done hiding it." Xareth crossed to her, and kneeling so they were at eye level. "I need you to stay here. Seraphine will guard you. Lucian will stand watch outside these chambers. Do not leave. Do not answer the door for anyone but me." "You're going alone?" "I work better alone. You could be hurt." "I could. But I'm very old, Jenna, very strong, and very angry at what they have tried to do to you. That makes me more dangerous than any weapon they possess." His hand cupped her cheek. "Trust me." She did. Against all logic, despite knowing him for such a short time, she trusted him completely. "Come back to me. Always." He pressed a kiss to her forehead, the gesture so tender it made her chest ache. Then he stood and swept from the room, leaving Jenna with Seraphine. The silver-haired vampire settled into a chair, studying Jenna thoughtfully. "You truly care for him." "I love him," Jenna said simply. "After days?" "After minutes, if I'm honest. I know how that sounds, but it's true." Seraphine was quiet for a moment, then she nodded. "Love does not follow human timelines, and you are dealing with a creature who measures his life in centuries. What feels fast to you may feel perfectly natural to him, but be warned, child. If he loves you back, and I suspect he does whether he has admitted it yet or not, he will be terrifying in his protection of you. Our kind loves rarely, but when we do, it is absolute. That doesn't scare me. Perhaps it should, but then again, perhaps that is what he needs, someone unafraid of his intensity." They waited for what felt like hours. Seraphine told stories of the old days, of vampire politics and ancient feuds, of how Xareth had come to power through a combination of strength and wisdom that had earned him loyalty across multiple courts. Jenna listened and learned and tried not to think about what Xareth was doing in that converted church. Finally, near dawn, the door opened. Xareth entered covered in blood. Not his own, Jenna realized immediately. He moved without injury, just soaked in evidence of violence. His eyes found her immediately, checking that she was safe, before he nodded to Seraphine. "It is done. The hunters are eliminated, their records destroyed. Any evidence of our court burned." "All of them?" Seraphine asked. "All but one. I let him run. Let him spread word to whatever other cells exist. They will know what happens when they threaten what is mine." Jenna stood slowly. "Marcus?" "Dead. Quickly. More mercy than he deserved." Xareth's eyes held hers. "I know he was once something to you. I'm sorry if—" "Don't be. He was never real. You are." She crossed to him, heedless of the blood, and wrapped her arms around him. "You came back. I said I would, His arms came around her slowly, carefully, as if afraid she might break. "I will always come back to you," Seraphine cleared her throat delicately. "I will leave you two alone. My king, the council will want a full report in the evening." "They can wait," she left with a knowing smile. Xareth held Jenna for a long moment before speaking again. "I need to wash. Will you stay?" "I'm not going anywhere." They moved to the bathroom connected to his chambers, surprisingly modern despite the ancient setting. Xareth stripped off his ruined clothes and stepped into the shower, and Jenna sat on the counter, watching him through the glass. Watching the blood wash away until he was pale and clean again, beautiful and terrible all at once. When he emerged, she handed him a towel. Their eyes met and held. Something shifted in that moment. All the tension of the past days, the fear and danger and uncertainty, seemed to crystallize into a single perfect clarity. "I love you," Jenna said. "I know it's fast, I know it's insane, but I do." Xareth froze, the towel in his hands. His expression did something complicated, emotions flickering too fast for her to name them all. Finally, he set the towel aside and crossed to her in two long strides, cupping her face in both hands. "I am not good at loving," he said roughly. "I am cold and hard, and I will frustrate you. But you have burrowed into my heart, Jenna Blake. You have made me feel things I thought I had forgotten centuries ago, and I will spend eternity trying to be worthy of what you give me so freely." "Is that a yes?" "That's a promise. I love you. Completely. Terrifyingly. You are mine and I am yours, and nothing in this world or any other will change that." Then he kissed her. It was nothing like she had expected. Not cold or careful. He kissed her like he was drowning, and she was air. Like he was starving, and she was sustenance. His hands tangled in her hair, and she pressed closer, pouring everything she felt into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Xareth rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me. Not just for tonight, not just until the danger passes. Stay with me always." What does that mean for a human and a vampire? It means you have a choice. You can remain human, remain mortal, and I will love you for all the years you have, or, he hesitated, or you can become what I am. Join me in immortality. I know what I ask. I know how much you would be giving up. Your humanity, the sunlight, any possibility of a normal life. But I'm too selfish not to offer, not to hope. Jenna's heart hammered. Become a vampire, live forever, give up everything she knew. It should have been an impossible choice. She should have needed time, years maybe, to even consider it. Instead, she found her answer came easily. "If I become a vampire, would I be with you? Always? Always. Would you teach me, help me adjust? Every step of the way? Then yes, I choose you. I choose forever." Xareth's eyes closed briefly, and when they opened again, they were bright with something that looked like tears, though she didn't know if vampires could cry. "You are sure?" "I have never been more sure of anything." "Then we will wait. I will not rush this. You will have time to be certain, to understand fully what you are choosing. And when you are ready, truly ready, I will turn you myself. And you will be mine in every way that matters. I'm already yours. Yes." He kissed her again, softer this time. "And I am yours. For all eternity if you will have me. I will." 3 months passed. Xareth kept his word. He didn't rush her decision. He showed her every aspect of vampire life, both the beauty and the darkness. He let her meet more of his court, let her understand the politics and dangers that would become her world. He took her to the boundaries of his territory, showed her the careful balance they maintained with the human world. And through it all, they fell deeper in love. Xareth slowly, carefully let his walls down. He would pull her into his lap while reading reports, her warmth against his coolness. He would tell her stories of his long life, some tragic, some beautiful. Once he took her to a hidden garden he maintained underground, using artificial light to grow things that should never survive without the sun, and she understood it was his way of keeping beauty in the darkness. "I made this after I became king," he told her as they walked among the roses and night-blooming flowers. "I needed to remember that not everything has to be hard and cold, that there can still be softness, even in our world." Jenna wove her fingers through his. You're not as hard and cold as you think. With you, no. You have changed me." He stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "I have been alone for so long. I had forgotten what it was to share my existence with someone, to care more about another's happiness than my own comfort. You have given me that gift. You've given me gifts too. You've shown me I'm stronger than I knew, that I can handle things I never thought possible. And you've loved me in a way that makes me feel seen. Really seen. All of me, even the broken parts. You're not broken. You were bent under the weight of someone unworthy, but you never broke." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "You are the strongest person I know. I want to do it. Soon. Turn me. Make me like you. Are you certain?" "I've spent 3 months being certain. I want forever with you, Xareth. I want to see centuries together. I want to stand beside you as your equal, not a fragile human you have to constantly protect. Turn me." He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well, tomorrow night. I will call the council together as witnesses. It must be done properly, with ceremony. You will be the first new vampire turned under my rule in over a decade. It is an honor I do not grant lightly. I know. The process will hurt. The transformation is not gentle. Your body will die, in a sense, and be reborn as something else. It takes 3 days. 3 days where you will be unconscious, and I will not be able to help you. I can only wait and hope your body accepts the change. I trust you. I trust this." Xareth pulled her close, holding her tightly. "I will be with you every moment. I will not leave your side until you wake." "I know." The next night, they gathered in the throne room, the entire court assembled to witness. Seraphine stood at the front, her expression approving for once. Lucian and other high-ranking vampires ringed the room. And in the center, Xareth waited beside an ornate chair that had been prepared for Jenna. She wore a simple white dress, a nod to the ceremonial nature of the event. Her heart hammered as she walked forward, but not with fear, with anticipation. This was the threshold, the point of no return. And she was ready. Xareth took her hands when she reached him. "Jenna Blake, you come before this court of your own free will, asking to be turned, to leave behind your humanity and join us in immortality. Do you understand what you ask?" "I do. You will never again walk in sunlight. You will need blood to survive. You will watch the human world change and age while you remain unchanged. You will face dangers and prejudices you cannot yet imagine. Do you still choose this?" "I choose this. I choose you. I choose us." "Then I accept your choice, and I claim you, now and forever, as my companion, my equal, my heart." He drew her down to sit in the chair, kneeling beside her so they were at eye level. "This will hurt, but I will bring you back. Trust me." "Always." Xareth leaned in, his lips brushing her neck, finding her pulse. She felt the scrape of fangs, then the sharp, bright pain as they pierced her skin. The world immediately began to blur. She felt her blood leaving her body, felt herself growing weak, cold, distant. Distantly, she was aware of Xareth catching her as she slumped, lifting her carefully. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was his voice, rough with emotion. "Come back to me. I will be waiting." Then nothing. The transformation took 3 days, just as Xareth had warned. For Jenna, it was a strange, disconnected experience. She wasn't fully unconscious. Instead, she seemed to float in a dark space between sleep and waking, aware of voices and touches but unable to respond. She felt her body changing, felt things dying and being reborn, felt pain, yes, but also something else. Power. Strength building where weakness had been, and through it all she felt Xareth's presence, his cool hand holding hers, his voice reading to her, telling her stories, promising she was doing well, that she was strong, that she would make it through. On the 3rd day, she opened her eyes. The world exploded into clarity. Every sense was sharper, brighter, more intense than anything she'd experienced before. She could hear heartbeats from somewhere far above in the human world, could smell blood and stone and the strange, cold scent that she now realized was vampire, could see every detail of the room with perfect clarity despite the dim lighting. "Xareth?" Her voice sounded different, clearer, stronger. I am here. He was beside her instantly, his face appearing above hers. He looked haggard, worried. How do you feel? She sat up carefully, felt the coiled strength in her body, the way her muscles responded instantly to her commands. I feel incredible. Is this what it's always like for you? Yes, your senses will be overwhelming at first, but you will learn to control them, to filter what you need. His hand cupped her face. You are beautiful. You were always beautiful, but now. He shook his head. You are magnificent. Jenna looked down at herself. Her skin had paled, matching his now. When she found a mirror across the room, she could see the changes. Not dramatic, but there. Her features seemed more refined somehow, sharper, and her eyes had lightened to a pale gray that almost matched Xareth's. I look like I belong, she whispered. You do belong, here, with me, always. He pulled her into his arms and held her tightly. I was terrified I would lose you. The 3 days were the longest of my existence. You didn't lose me. I'm here. I'm yours. And I am yours. They stayed like that for a long moment before Seraphine appeared in the doorway. The new vampire lives. Excellent. The court wishes to meet her properly now that she has awakened. Jenna straightened, feeling that new strength singing through her veins. Then let's not keep them waiting. Xareth's hand found hers, their fingers lacing together perfectly. As they walked toward the throne room, he leaned close and whispered, Welcome to forever, my love. Forever, she echoed. I like the sound of that. The court welcomed her fully this time. As a vampire, as one of their own, she was accepted in ways she hadn't been as a human. They taught her to control her new abilities, how to move with their speed and grace, how to manage the hunger for blood, teaching her to take from willing donors or blood banks Xareth's court maintained ethical access to. How to fight, because even in their structured society, knowing how to defend oneself was essential. And Xareth was with her through every step. He was patient when she struggled, encouraging when she succeeded. And slowly, as the months passed, Jenna saw even more of the man beneath the king's cold exterior. He laughed more now, rare sounds but beautiful when they came. He touched her constantly, as if reassuring himself she was real. And he told her he loved her every single day, the words coming easier each time. 6 months after her turning, Xareth took her away from the court. Where are we going? She asked as they drove out of the city one night. Somewhere I want to show you, somewhere important to me. They drove for hours until the city gave way to countryside. Finally, Xareth turned down a small road that led to a lake. On the shore sat a cabin, modest but beautifully maintained. He parked and helped her out of the car, leading her to the front door. I built this place years ago, he explained as they entered, when I needed somewhere to escape the politics and the weight of leadership, somewhere to remember what peace felt like. No one else knows about it, just you now. The interior was simple. One large room with a fireplace, a small kitchen, a bedroom visible through a doorway. Large windows overlooked the lake, and Jenna could see the moonlight reflecting on the water. It's beautiful, she said softly. It's ours. I want this to be our retreat. When the court becomes too much, when you need to breathe, we will come here. Together. He pulled her into his arms, his chin resting on top of her head. I have given you so much darkness, I wanted to give you beauty too. Jenna turned in his embrace to look up at him. You are my beauty. You and this life we've built. Yes, it's dark sometimes. Yes, there are dangers. But there's also this. Moments like this where it's just us and the whole world feels perfect. I love you, Xareth said, and this time the words came easily. Natural. I will love you for all the centuries we have ahead of us. And I love you. My vampire king. My partner. My home. He kissed her then, deep and passionate, and they stood in their secret cabin by the lake, holding each other as the night stretched out around them. The guild that had hunted them was gone. The ex-boyfriend who had tried to manipulate her was eliminated. The court accepted her as one of their own. There were no more threats, no more obstacles, just forever stretching ahead of them, full of possibility. What do you want? Xareth asked later as they lay together in the cabin's bed, moonlight spilling across them. Not tonight, not tomorrow, but in all the years ahead. What do you dream of? Jenna thought about it, about centuries of life ahead, about all the things they could do, could see, could experience together. I want to travel with you, see all the places you've seen and make new memories. I want to help you with the court, be your true partner in ruling. And someday, she hesitated, someday I want us to help other humans who find themselves falling in love with vampires. Be proof that it can work, that love can bridge the gap between our kinds. A romantic vision. Is it wrong? No, he kissed her forehead. It is beautiful, and we have forever to make it real. Forever, she agreed, snuggling closer. That still doesn't feel real sometimes, that I get forever with you. You regret nothing? Your humanity? The sun? Not for a second. Marcus was wrong. My ex. When he said I'd regret choosing you, he said I'd regret it when you showed me what you really are. But what you really are is the best man I've ever known, strong and protective and capable of such deep love even if you struggle to show it. That's what you are. Not a monster. Never a monster. Xareth's arms tightened around her. I am a monster by many definitions, but if you can see past that to the man beneath, then I will try every day to be worthy of your faith in me. You already are. They fell silent, comfortable in each other's presence. Outside, the lake lapped gently at the shore. Night creatures sang their songs, and inside the cabin, two vampires held each other and dreamed of centuries ahead, filled with moments exactly like this one. Time passed in the way it does for immortals. Years that would have been a significant portion of Jenna's human life became mere chapters in their ongoing story. They traveled, just as she'd wanted, saw ruins Xareth had visited centuries before, and watched how the world had changed around them. They returned to the court regularly, ruling together, solving disputes and keeping their kind safe. And they retreated to the lake cabin when they needed peace, when the weight of leadership became too much. 5 years after Jenna's turning, as they sat by the lake one evening, she brought up something they'd discussed in abstract before. I want to help turn someone, a human who's in love with one of our court, help them through the process the way you helped me. Xareth looked at her thoughtfully. There is a situation. Lucian has fallen for a human woman. He's asked permission to turn her, and I've been considering it. Let me help. Let me be there for her. I remember how terrifying it was, how much I needed you. I could be that support. You would do well at it. Your compassion is a strength, even in our world. He took her hand. Very well. We will speak with Lucian tomorrow. Tell him to bring his love to court, and we will begin the process together. It became their purpose, in a way. Over the decades, they helped other vampires and humans find the same happiness they'd discovered. Jenna became known in the court as someone who understood both worlds, who could guide newly turned vampires through the difficult transition. And Xareth, watching her work, fell more in love with her every day. 70 years after Jenna's turning, they stood in the cabin again. 7 decades. A lifetime for a human. Barely a blink for them. Jenna looked exactly as she had the night she'd been turned, eternally young and beautiful. Xareth stood beside her, unchanged as always, his white hair catching the moonlight, the same way it had that first night they'd met. Do you ever miss it? He asked quietly. Your old life, being human. Sometimes I miss the little things, the taste of food, the warmth of sunlight on my face. But I don't miss the fragility, the constant awareness that time was running out. And I never, not once, have missed the life I would have had without you. She turned to face him fully. You are the best decision I ever made. I am the luckiest creature in existence, Xareth said. That night on the street, when I heard your ex shouting at you, I could have walked past, ignored it, gone on with my immortal existence, but something made me stop, made me intervene. Fate, Jenna said. Destiny, whatever you want to call it. We were meant to find each other. I do not believe in fate. I believe we make our own choices, and I chose you. Every day since, I have chosen you, and I will continue choosing you for all eternity. And I choose you, my beautiful, cold, secretly soft vampire king. He laughed at that, a real laugh that filled the cabin. Secretly soft. If the court heard you say such things, my reputation would be ruined. Your reputation can survive, especially since everyone knows how fiercely you protect what's yours. That's not softness. That's love, and there's nothing weak about love. No, he agreed, pulling her close. There is nothing weak about love. It is the strongest force I know. It saved me from an eternity of loneliness. It gave me purpose beyond mere survival. It made my immortality a gift rather than a curse. They stood together by the window, looking out at the lake that had witnessed so many of their moments over the decades. The moon painted everything silver and beautiful, peaceful, perfect. What do the next centuries hold for us? Jenna wondered aloud. Whatever we want them to hold. More travel, more helping others find what we have found. Perhaps someday, if the world ever becomes safe enough, we could work toward better relations between humans and vampires. Your dream of bridging our kinds. A dangerous dream. The best ones are. But we have time. We have forever. And we have each other. He turned her in his arms so she faced him fully. I will never stop being grateful that you walked away from your ex that night, that you were brave enough to accept what I am, that you loved me first and gave me permission to love you back. I couldn't help it. You stood between me and him and told him I wouldn't be his to regret, and I knew. Right then, even before I understood what you were, I knew you were different, special, mine. Yours, he agreed. Always yours. They kissed as they had countless times before, but it never got old. Every kiss was a promise, every touch a reminder. Every moment together was a gift they never took for granted because they'd both known loneliness before they'd found each other. When they finally pulled apart, Xareth rested his forehead against hers. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For choosing this life, for choosing me, for making eternity worth living. You never have to thank me for that. Loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done. Even when I'm cold and stoic and struggle to express what I feel, even then, because I know what's underneath. I see you, Xareth, all of you, and I love every part. They stayed at the cabin for another week, just the two of them in their private sanctuary. No court business, no politics, just the simple pleasure of being together. They read and talked and made love and watched the stars from the dock. Simple things, beautiful things, the kind of things that make immortality bearable. On their last night before returning to the court, Jenna woke from her rest to find Xareth watching her. What is it? She asked softly. I am memorizing this moment. Your face in moonlight, the peace of this place, the feeling of complete contentment. I've lived over 300 years, but these decades with you have been the best of my existence, and I wanted to acknowledge that. To tell you that no matter what comes, no matter what challenges we face in the centuries ahead, I will always remember this. Us, here. Perfect. Jenna reached up to touch his face, tracing the elegant lines she knew so well. We'll have more moments like this, hundreds of them, thousands, forever, remember? Forever, he echoed. The word used to seem like a burden. Now it seems like a gift. Because we have each other. Yes. Because we have each other. They held each other as the night deepened, two vampires who had found something rare and precious in each other, who had overcome obstacles and dangers to build a life together, who would face whatever came with the certainty that they would face it as one. The future stretched ahead of them, infinite and full of possibility, and they would walk into it together, hand in hand, heart to heart, for all the centuries to come. Because that night on a rain-soaked street, when Jenna had been brave enough to walk away from what hurt her and Xareth had been brave enough to intervene, they had set in motion something that would last forever. A love that death could not touch because they had conquered death itself. A partnership that would endure because it was built on mutual respect and genuine affection. A future that held no regrets because every choice had led them to this moment, to each other, to eternity. And as dawn approached and they prepared to return to their court, to the world of vampire politics and responsibilities, they did so with light hearts, because no matter what waited for them, they would face it together. Just as they had faced everything since that fateful night, just as they would face everything for all the nights to come, forever.